It's time to say goodbye to the orange group for the next 6 weeks, which is such a bummer because I really liked this group so far. Kind of wish we had a little more time with these queens because this group is so fun to watch. We are in episode 3, Hoop Queen Makeovers. I enjoy a makeover challenge, but it is so inconsistently judged every single season. I have yet to watch a Drag Race season, whether mainline, international, or all-stars, where the makeover challenge made sense. It's usually used as a narrative tool to guide who the finalists are. Sometimes they'll use it to solidify this person had a little stumble in the makeover, but they're still going to win. And we see that so often. It's sort of become a trope in the Drag Race universe, the makeover challenge. It's about branding and using your image until it's not. It's about family resemblance until it's not. It's about fashion until it's not. I do think that this episode was maybe a more fair judgment, at least for one of the queens that won. And I think for the other, I think it could have gone a lot of different ways. We're gonna dig into that today. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and we have been chatting about All Stars 10. We are going to be continuing to talk about All Stars 10 through the season, so if you have not already, click that subscribe button so that you can catch more of my videos. My interpretation of the makeover challenge is that it's really about branding. It's about how well you can take your visual identity and stamp that on someone else. And of this group, I think Irene and Aja have the most recognizable brands that you could stamp onto someone else. And when I talk about this, it's beyond just makeup, right? It's about silhouette, textiles you use. It's about colors. There are some queens that have come through Drag Race, like I think about Crystal Method, who, when she got on hers, she went a very camp direction, and that paid off well for her. And then there are other queens who have great visual brands, like I think about someone like Gigi. But that model-esque brand is hard to put on somebody else. We saw kind of that problem with Lexi Love in the most recent season. Her visual brand is model and runway, but how do you translate that to another person? Because when you get into a makeover challenge, you have to take all of the things that make you work as a queen and teach that to your partner who doesn't have the same life experience as you. And so whatever your brand is has to be easy enough to give to someone else. With Irene having her alien perspective, with Aja having her ballroom perspective, and having a pretty solid visual brand, those I think are our most defined characters. I think that Bosow and Olivia have really strong visual brands, especially with Olivia kind of rebranding this season into more of a musical sphere and has been showing that week after week after week. Her references in the last 2 runways, as well as this one, have all been musical themed. That is a pretty cool way to translate yourself into somebody else. Your background is in music that defines and interprets your drag. Bosow is a showgirl. Bosow is a silly, goofy girl. That is something you can translate to someone else. But it might be hard visually to connect those pieces. And then Phoenix and Deja, I think maybe have the least recognizable visual brands because who are they as a piece? And this is always hard to explain, but it's sort of like when you think about Picasso, you see that visual art so easy. And for someone who's a painter, who's very good at what they do, is their brand as recognizable as someone like Picasso? Could you look at it and say, that's that? And so that's what I mean when I'm diving into this branding thing. At the start of the episode, we get a little tension with the MBQ points. I really love half non-elim as a concept, and I hope that they hammer this down in future seasons. I enjoy that it creates a little bit of anxiety from week to week. With All Stars 7, there was natural tension that was already existing in the room because everyone wanted to be the queen of all queens. They wanted to be the ultimate winner of all of them. And so week after week, us as an audience and them as queens have this tension around them that makes us nervous for who's going to win the next one, who's gonna get blocked, who's not going to make it to that last lip sync. When we got to All Stars 9, there's no stakes. They're not winning any money for themselves, so the prize is to better a charity, and that's great, love that, but where are the stakes? If you lose, your charity just doesn't get a ton of money. But it at least got a lot of attention through the season. You're not getting the ultimate queen of all queens type situation. Yeah, you get a crown and a scepter, but people are going to more remember that you won for your charity, not necessarily that you won for yourself. Because you're not winning for you, you're winning for somebody else. And it was just such a low stakes season that there wasn't enough of this stress that is needed for reality competition shows. It's great to have just a straight competition when that competition is judged fairly. Look at something like the Boulet Brothers Dragula, where the idea is your talent, your art, your drag form. Something like Great British Bake Off, where it's about your talent and your skill. The tension exists there because it's a natural competition, but we know that Drag Race is not a natural competition. And so these points, I think, help solidify what is desperately needed from a non-elimination Drag Race season. It creates these stakes where the social game is more important than ever. You have to know the people in the room, you have to get along with those people in the room, and as Phoenix teed up a story that ended up getting followed all the way through, sometimes your relationship with one queen is enough to either propel you to the end or to hold you back. And we saw that in the finale when it came down to either Jada or Trinity, and Monet got to choose. Monet's relationship with Trinity helped solidify Trinity moving on, and it cucked Jada, despite her doing really well all season. And Phoenix teed up at the start of this episode, mathematically, it's going to come down to her probably, because everybody else's relationships are pretty solid. She's the one who stands out. And I feel like some producer heard that and they wrote it down real fast, because even in the lineup at the end of the episode, they let Phoenix be at the end, probably because they knew exactly how that was going to pan out and that Phoenix would be the one to give the determining vote. And that was great TV. And so all that to say, I think these points are brilliant because they bring in that thing that's desperately needed into an all-star season, and that's stakes. There's been a lot of conversation about Olivia throughout the whole season, and someone on Twitter said that she's giving Blair St. Clair energy. This, I'm not a good girl anymore, I'm a bad girl now. And I can appreciate wanting to come back and solidify, I am not the girl you knew before. I think the problem with coming back and having such a harsh rebrand is that what ends up happening is TV grabs on to the new thing, and that feels inauthentic to what audiences know you as. And Olivia might not be pandering towards the Drag Race community. She might not be trying to get them excited for her drag. She's trying to find her people, is what it seems like. She's trying to find people who are interested in ballroom, who are interested in music, who are interested in the things that she is, not trying to pander towards, frankly, people like me who are talking about Drag Race. She's trying to reach out to the people who want to find her. And so her establishing, I'm not just this nice girl anymore, I think is interesting branding for her as a queen, but I do think it is maybe a little detrimental towards her relationship with the overall community, because the TV is going to latch on to that new thing and people aren't going to find that as familiar as they found that previous energy. So let's get into the actual challenge of this makeover after all of this talking. Bosow saying that season 14 didn't have a makeover because of budget cuts had me laughing like a lunatic. I love how on she is all the time. She really understands that the cameras are watching her, and I think she's hamming it up. They even give us a little bit of that insight with her makeover saying, I don't really understand what Bosco's saying half the time. I have to really listen and then understand what she's saying, because I think Bosco's just talking and saying stuff to make TV, and I'm absolutely here for that. When you know the cameras are on, pitch it up. And I must give props to Rue because she looked so good this week. I loved that sleek black bodysuit with the floral lace and the sequins and the rhinestones, that big up scooped hair that actually looked like a good wig, not just like she was standing in front of a wig. I'm not as plugged into all aspects of pop culture as I ought to be, so I don't know who Kate Beckinsale is, but she looked to me like if Shania Twain got a JoJo Siwa makeover. Let's look at these looks because that's what the meat of this episode was. Deja's out first with her makeover, Sophie Ferocious. So Ferocious? What a fun name. It got me thinking, is Deja's name a pun on something and I just have never realized it? Deja Sky, I don't think so. I think the outfits are cute. They're not really anything to write home about, in my personal opinion. I am very repelled by this electric green and that highlighter yellow shoe. I really hate the combination of those together. And the mug on Sophie is, I kept thinking, who does she look like? She looks like one of those Venn diagrams of Q and Acacia. I think the mesh is really cute. I think the colors specifically on Deja are cute. I wish that the outfits looked a little more familiar to each other. Deja's is the country rodeo version because it's got the ostrich feathers coming off the side, almost like fringe. And then Sophie's looks like hoochie nightclub dress. And I love both of these. I love country rodeo. I love hoochie night dress. I just don't really see the intersection of the two of them and where they meet. So on that end, I do agree with what Michelle said. I don't think they look as related, but I also have opinions on that comment because Michelle said they didn't look alike, but then really went in on all the things that were different about Irene and her makeover and how different they were, and yet it worked. And I hate these inconsistent judgments. If you're saying that Deja and Sophie didn't look enough alike and that their things were too different, you can't praise another contestant for being super different from their makeover. It's a logical fallacy. Ranking all of these as I usually do, I do put Deja at number 6. It was maybe the least impactful of the looks to me. Irene and Estelle are next. Her makeover was so worried about what this was gonna be like. I feel like she was hamming it up because she looked so comfortable on the runway. First off, I love Irene's look. It's giving black and white Pennywise from here up. And then her makeover just looks like she came out of an entire Hollywood budget film. They both look really spectacular, and Irene's branding as an alien, I think, can go in a lot of different ways. She's not limited to a color scheme of being a green alien or a blue alien. She's everything, and we've seen that this season, that she is branched out into multiple different color palettes. I love the asymmetry of it. I think it's so fun. And I mean, even the campiness of the antenna is really clean looking. These silhouettes are bonkers, but I love that they both have very similar big, small, big, and I love that. Anytime you give me big, small, big, I'm very happy. They were number 1 for me. Next out is Bosow and her makeover, Hota Cara Hota. Oh, sorry, that's not Hota. It's the goddess. But for those of you who watched España too, that's Hota. It's kind of giving Death Becomes Her on Bosow. If she just had a little sleek bob, that would be lethal. Easy. For me personally, I really like the sapphire on Bosow, and I really like this crimson color on the goddess. I love the black and white streaks in the hair. I think the silhouette on the costuming is really fun. For me, I don't quite see the family resemblance as much. For me, I think great gowns, beautiful gowns. I don't know if this was the winning look for me. I put it at number 4. Next out is Phoenix and Heron. I freaking love this reference to her walking in the workroom. These looks that queens bring in makes me always very nostalgic for the idea of a redemption runway. I wish that we got one every single All-Stars. I think they're so impactful to see how a queen learned and grew from their original season, or just wanted to reference something that was fun from their original season. I love this as someone who loves season 3. This made me so happy. And then them saying prison honey, that iconic moment from 3 from all those years ago that still lives on in perpetuity. This was fun. It feels so much like a representation of Phoenix because it literally was her. It's tongue in cheek, it's camp, it's chaotic. I love so much that Phoenix is someone who's been off the show for such a long time. She really can do just about anything with her branding. I think this was good branding on her part. Just to remind you who she is, where she came from. She hasn't changed that much. She's just a more polished version now. And I think that's what this looks like, a more polished version of what was on season 3. For me, this was my number 3. Next out is Olivia and Octavia Lux. I said it earlier, I love that she's really leaning into her musical background as a part of her branding this time around and solidifying that. Because I think Olivia kind of went into that in 13 but didn't follow that line all the way through. I love this soul disco look. I think this hair on Olivia, this scooped back that goes into this afro that's asymmetrical like Rue pointed out, is something I have never seen before on Drag Race. And it was just an art installation, that hair. I love the way that it's got the accessories of the headphones, that they're both listening to the music together, and then her makeover looks beautiful. I love that she's the guitar to Olivia's piano. And they've even got the tiny bags that Olivia was so well known for her first time around, which again makes me nostalgic for the idea of a redemption runway, because she leaned in on something that we already knew visually about her, the little tiny bag, brought that to the main stage one last time. This is who I am now, but I still remember who I was when I was on Drag Race the first time. And I want to show you that I'm still that girl, but I'm just a little better now. The shoe choice is fun with this costuming. They look to me like family. This was my number 2. And I think if Olivia was on the vision board to go to round 2, she could have won this. But I don't think she was on the vision board to go to the next round. And then finally is Aja and Tiva. She was a fairy. Controversially, I don't have a problem with this. I think the costuminess was fun. I think Aja looks great in green. I think her makeover looks great in lilac. The boots are so cute. This reminds me of episode 1 of All Stars 3, because didn't she have these colors on her outfits that she wore during that episode? And I love her retort to Michelle when Michelle was complaining about it, that Aja was like, but I love it. Do you love it? We love it. Mwah. That's how you tackle a BS critique, is you just take it and you have fun with it. And you go, well, hey, if you don't like it, that's fine. I do. Because the only thing Michelle can do is either argue or she can just clap and smile and go, you know what? If you like it, then that's what matters. And I personally lived. I'm like, yes, Aja. I think they both look really cute. They look related to each other. They look like they came out of the same storybook. It was not my most favorite thing because there were others that I thought were more of my favorite. It's at number 5, only because I think some of the others did better. In the performance portion, Aja and Irene were the very clear standouts to me, and so I wasn't sure where the judging was gonna go. Was it going to be on entire presentation through the episode, from makeover to performance? Was it going to be entire competition judged, because they love to do that? And I feel like based off this last episode, I feel like they looked at everything. There was good reason for Bosow to win, but I think there was even better justification for Olivia to win. But again, I think that Bosow was always on the board to go to the next round. And if they didn't give Bosow the points, and she ended up at the lower end of the tier, what then would happen? Would Bosow be secured into the finale? I don't know. Irene was a shoo-in no matter what, and I think she was just killing it week after week after week. I think she justifiably earned her spot. Not that Bosow didn't, but I feel like maybe it could have gone to Olivia. And overall, I think the producers wanted to capitalize on that story that Phoenix set up at the very beginning, that she was gonna be the tiebreaker. So when they set them all up in the row that they did, I already knew that's what they were gonna do. And it gave me immediate flashbacks to Scarlett in UK vs. the World 2, saying in week 2, I think, well, I would just send the strongest girl home and see what happens. And then in week 3, they gave her the win, and she ended up not eliminating the strongest girl. Sometimes these girlies say stuff in the workroom, and I don't know if they're paying attention to what they're saying or if they know that they're being listened to. And the producers probably jot that information down and make sure to capitalize on it. I knew what the setup was. I smelled the stunt. It was wafting from the other room. Our top 2 is Irene and Bosow. Again, I think it could have been Irene and Olivia. And now they have to give out all of their additional points for the last time to determine who is that 3rd spot going into round 2. And of course, as completely expected, they set up RuPaul saying, if there's a tie, I will break it. And that, I feel like, is going to give us a payout later. Either in bracket 2 or 3, there's going to be a situation where someone is tied and we will see production's hands clearly on the reins. I could see that being the determining factor for how Georges gets to round 2 or how Ginger gets to round 2. We're gonna put a pin in that right now. And also, they were lip syncing for an additional point. And the girls think that that's just to determine who's the top dog of the bunch, but I cannot help but wonder if that's going to play a part in round 2. Whoever the bottom 3 is, the one with the most points is gonna be saved. And then the bottom 2 have to lip sync or something. I could see that being what ends up happening in round 2, because points at this point for top 2 should be out the door. They're solidly in the next round. Why would they need to lip sync for an extra point? For clout? Drag Race doesn't really do that. It's gotta mean something later. Alternative theory, whoever has the most points will get to determine the lip sync order in that last SmackDown or something. So anyway, the points kind of go around exactly as expected, and Phoenix is the one who has to break the tie. And she was doing her full, the queen I'm eliminating is a bald-headed bitch who has a show with her best friend Katya and is a visual stamp of Barbie and loves pink. I've decided to eliminate Chi-Chi. Because the way she was talking, I fully thought she was gonna give her points to Deja. And I thought Deja was gonna circumvent production and end up in the next round, but she gave it to Aja. Very happy that Aja's moving on because she's been doing really good all season. And I mean, Deja's been kind of at the lower middle part of the pack next to Phoenix. I'm surprised that Phoenix didn't give her point to Deja. They seemed like they had a strong connection all season, but I'm glad that Phoenix chose Aja. Aja had such a strong storyline this week too, with her relationship with Olivia and them trying to patch things up from last week, where she felt slighted by the fact that her sister didn't have her back in giving her points. And so Olivia mending that this week, giving her points, I think it created a stronger story for Aja going into round 2. And I feel like we're gonna see that play out in the next round of things. And I think her social game is going to be very different, having had this moment where she doesn't really trust the people in the room who were supposed to have her back, getting that validation at the last second, and then going into the finale with kind of uncertainty. Last thing that happens is Rue announces that the bottom 3 have a chance to return to the finale. That all of the judges are going to choose someone's name and they're gonna go in some type of raffle. Whoever's chosen from that raffle is going to return to the competition. This is kind of BS because they're doing it in episode 12. And this really should be happening in episode 10. Right when the merge happens is when they should do the ball raffle, because it's kind of unfair to miss 2 competitive episodes and then come back to lip sync for the finale. And I already know, and most of us probably already know, this is going to be a producer tool to bring someone in that they want to see maybe fight out some tension. So if Aja makes it to the finale, maybe they'll bring back Olivia so that they can maybe see them lip sync one more time. If there's tension in the pink group, like we're kind of seeing already with Mistress and Ronald McDonald, they could bring Tina in to lip sync against Mistress, because I don't think that Tina's going to the next round. Or whatever happens in the purple group, they could do the same thing. If there's someone that's got story, they're going to bring them back to resolve that in the finale. But it is kind of BS that they're bringing them back at the final episode and not at 10, because that's really when it would be the most fair competitively. Again, Drag Race is TV, not a competition. Next week is the pink group. We're already seeing that there's going to be tension between Mistress and Tina. I can't wait to see that. It's gonna be interesting to see how Lydia fares, because this would have been days after 17 wrapped. So who knows if she'll even have her sea legs to deal with Drag Race all over again. And last week I shared a sentiment that I wanted similar challenges just so that it would be fair and competitive for everybody. And this first challenge being a ball doesn't feel very celebratory, welcome in, you're the next group. It sort of feels like the competition is already going, get into it or get out. And on one hand, I like that, but on the other hand, I can already see what the stunts are and what the production is, because I think of this group and who's here in pink, starting out with a ball, which is about looks. It is about visual branding right away with no time or room for error. It's a device to help one Mistress and 2 Georges move on, because the judges have always really liked their fashion. They did not like Tina's fashion her original time around. And that could change, but I don't see much of that happening this time. Lydia had a great visual brand, and I think they're gonna love that and seeing her come back again. She didn't really get a lot of high marks during the sewing challenges, but they seem to like what she presents. And then Nicole, Carrie, those are the clear, we are not even thinking about you of this group by giving them a ball. I wish that they had gotten a girl group challenge too. Like I wish every single group started with a girl group. Then give them in maybe episode 2 something that's more tailored towards what you want to do with them story-wise. But this kind of just initially is coming across like we're gonna make sure that our top 2 that we want to move on are gonna get their points. So just in case there's any accidents that happen next, we can make sure that our two that we want go on. And I can already see a George's Mistress lock in for round 2. What did y'all think about this episode? Thank you so much for watching. We did a live stream this last Tuesday talking about this season, and we're gonna do another one this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. So if you would like to show up to that and come and hang out, our main topic is going to be about favorite lip syncs. That was voted on by our channel members. If you would like to join that and vote as well, you can. It is right down next to the subscribe button. And members get to watch some of my posted videos a couple of days early before everyone else. Thank you so much for watching. I will see y'all next week for group Pink, and I will see y'all on the flip.